Many of you know that I spent the past couple of months in New York City. And I went to school for musical theater, so New York is where I was at. And I came home from my summer job, and I was home for like 3 days. And I was driving my parents nuts, because I'm like, why am I in Kansas? Why am I not performing? And so Mom's like, why don't you just get online and see if there's a ticket? And of course, you know, like if you're gonna get a ticket for 3 days later, it's gonna be sky high, and you're just not gonna do it. Well, there was a ticket for like 200 something, really, really low, and I was like, okay. So I kind of prayed about it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. And I bought the ticket, and I stayed at some friends' houses and was couch hopping and at the hospitality of all these wonderful people. And I felt like I wasn't done yet. So I kind of prayed about it some more, and I'm like, all right, I know what Mom and Dad's gonna say. So I was like, God, if something pops up that I can't pass, please just let it happen, and if so, I'm meant to stay here. And if not, then I'm gonna go home, and it'll be great. And I prayed about it, and I prayed about it, and I just put up on Facebook. I was like, hi guys, if anybody knows of a sublet in New York that's affordable, let me know. And somebody was doing something, they were doing a tour, and they had somebody who was supposed to pay for their apartment. And a family member died, and they dropped out at the last minute. So they were like, here's this beautiful Brooklyn apartment near Park Slope, $500. And I was like, I can afford that. God wants me to stay in New York. So I called Mom and Dad and was like, I'm staying. And they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I am. So I stayed. I'm like, what are you going to do? Come to New York? But so I stayed, and I've been going through a really hard time with lots of different things. And you know, lots of people say New York is the center of the world. And in my opinion, it's kind of the center of the universe. Everything is there. You have everybody from every country, so many languages on every corner, so much is happening there. And I was there during 9/11, so I got to see everything, all the spiritual activists and the Christians and the Muslims, and I was in the middle of everything, and I just felt like there was so much going on in my life. And at the same time, I felt like not everything was right, and I wasn't quite where I was supposed to be. And I was at an audition, and I saw this girl, and I was like, your dress is really cute. And she was like, thanks. And so we kind of talked for a second, and that was it. And I was praying on my way home, and I was like, I just felt like God was telling me to get off the subway. So I got off the subway, and I just started walking. And I see this girl who I complimented her on her dress earlier. And I went up and talked to her, and I asked her how her audition was, and she asked me how mine was, and she's like, you know what, this is really weird. I felt like I was supposed to get off at the stop, but it was totally not where I was supposed to be. So she's like, do you want to come to lunch with me and my friends? And I was like, sure. And so I ended up going to lunch with them, and they're like, hey, will you come to church with us? You know, we just feel, we're big churchgoers, and that might sound weird to you. And I'm like, no, I'm a big churchgoer. And so they're like, but please come to church with us. So I went, and I was like, this is amazing. There were so many performers and people young and old, and it had really cool music, but the sermon, like, the guy was from Alabama, and I was like, this guy's, he's talking the way, he's preaching the way it's supposed to be, like, taught. And I was like, what is going on? We're in New York, and what is this? And I was so excited, and I'm like, these are going to be my new best friends. And there's all these strong women there, and they're like, you need to come to this group we're having tonight. And so I went to it, and so my last few weeks was really a whole lot of church, but I was like, Dad, here's how we do worship, and I like put him a little YouTube clip on it, and he was looking it up, and he goes, Courtney, the Dream Center New York was founded by Tommy Barnett and his son. And then they opened this church in New York, and they gave it to this young couple to take over. And he's like, you're at a church with Assembly of God roots. And I was like, how cool is God that not only do I now like have all these best friends, like they've kind of trumped, I was hanging out with a lot of people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with, that just weren't good friends for me. And here are these people who I met on the street, and I just went to lunch with them, and they're like, come to church. And now this, I'm getting weekly emails from my pastor's wife and all these women who are waiting for me to get back to New York and talking about all the awesome things I'm I'm going to be able to do, and I'm hearing about all the awesome things they're doing, and it's like we're trading back and forth what's going on. But we all have that connector, and I brought a bunch of my best friends before I left. Some of my friends were like, I might just become a Buddhist. I don't know what to do with myself, and I might do this. And I brought them to church, and they're like, oh, this is what a Christian church can be like? And I was like, yeah, it's good, it's real. And they're like, oh, I might have to give it a try. So I brought a whole bunch of friends, and I trust this church, and it feels like home in New York City. It feels like this. I'm sure Pastor Brad and Pastor Dan could sit there and talk about football and the Lord, and it'd be great. And I'm like, all right, if that can happen, then this must be a good place for me to be. But so I was having a really hard time, but I feel like for the first time I'm kind of on track where I need to be. And I'm not sure when I'm going back to New York yet, but I have a job here, and I'm going to save up, and when the Lord is ready for me to, but I'll go. But right now I'm just going to kind of get my footing and my foundation ready, and I think that's why God wants me here. But He has somewhere for me to go. So, yay, God.
If you'll turn to Matthew chapter 20. It's going to be our last passage for the day, and maybe our most important passage. Robert, when I call the musicians to come up, if you'd play bass, I'd appreciate it. Matthew chapter 20, starting at verse number 29. It's also in your bulletin. Now as they went out of Jericho, a great multitude followed him. Talking about Jesus. And behold, 2 blind men sitting by the road, when they heard that Jesus was passing by, cried out, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." Then the multitude warned them that they should be quiet. But they cried out all the more, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, Son of David." So Jesus stood still and called them and said, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, that our eyes may be opened." So Jesus had compassion and touched their eyes, and immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. No matter what you're going through right now, no matter who you are, we have a God that knows. We have a God that sees.
Yes, He does.
We have a God that hears.
Yes.
And most of all, we have a God that cares. And I believe with all my heart that Jesus is standing before you and I today, asking the same question He did almost 2,000 years ago to the 2 blind men. What do you want me to do for you? You've got a God who's not only a friend, He knows your name. He knows your every thought. He sees each tear that falls, and He hears you when you call.
Yes.
I'm going to bring up the musicians. I'm going to bring up Pastor Dan and our prayer team. We're going to all stand and sing this song. But then I want you to come down forward. Make a leap of faith. Come down and pray with one of these people. God is saying to you right now, I love you. What do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? I believe God's going to answer prayer today. He's going to grant you what you want. Not because of anything you've done, but because of who He is. He knows you and all your faults, and yet He still wants to bless you. He knows you. Let's sing that song. desire from God. He is here to bless you today, to answer your call. He understands. He feels your pain. He wants to touch you. He loves you. Come down right now. Jesus is here. He wants to meet your needs right now.